So rethinking the way we design clothes. We need to do that because we need to think about design innovation to increase garment utilization. And what's also remarkable is the quality, right? The durability of these clothes. To last so many years, we can imagine that the textiles and the garment construction have to be of high quality. So the Ellen MacArthur Foundation study found that extending the life of staples like coats and jeans by only 9 months would lower the environmental impact by up to 10%. So 9 more months of life for a garment, up to 10% lower environmental impact. So just imagine if we can increase the life by years or decades. Here our chart comparing the linear economy, which is the type of economy that we have been evolving in for many decades, and we're comparing it here to the circular economy. We can see, if you want to look at the linear economy, we can see that it starts with resource extraction, then production, distribution, consumption, and waste, right? Which is the way it used to happen. Our clothes are worn out, or maybe we're tired of them and we discard them. And most often they will end up in a landfill. In a circular economy, after the consumption phase, something else happens. The garment is then either reused or repaired or redesigned in some way. And then it ends up in the recycling sector, where the material is recycled to be transformed into new material. So obviously, this is an ideal model. Reaching a fully circular model is complicated because in many cases, what we're lacking is the technology and the innovation behind it. But there's a lot of work being made in this direction at this very moment. If you're interested in circularity, you can find a lot more resources on the website of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. But it's really important for this reason is that we know about sustainable materials. This part is slightly more complex, but there's no way around it. It's important to start learning about them because it's really evolving a lot. There's new materials coming in the market. There's existing materials that are made with better methods and so on. So even what I'm going to tell you today will be different in 2 years, 5 years. But it's really important to understand the mechanisms. And once you do that, you just will need to update the information. So here we are. First, I'd like to show you a chart of what are the fibers that are consumed around the world. In orange, we see synthetics. In green, cotton. And then blue is man-made cellulosic, and then brown is wool. So it's a very simple chart to show you that synthetic fibers, not only they are major, I think they're definitely above 50%, close to 60% of all textiles that is being produced and purchased. But they are really far in front of even cotton. So this is important to know. Here, so for somebody that maybe has not studied textiles, this can look a little complicated, but don't worry. We can piece it out to make it understandable. So this is a textile chart that is listing all the sustainable solutions that exist, right? This is not just all textile that exists, it's all the sustainable textile. It's a chart from Textile Exchange. So Textile Exchange is an organization that is dedicated to advancing sustainability in fiber at the raw material level. And so they've been working since 2002, since they were created, to prepare to create all these sustainable fibers that they certified sustainable for brands to use in a fabric portfolio. So we have two big groups. The first big group is manufactured fibers. Under manufactured fibers, we see synthetics and we see man-made cellulosic fibers. Then we have the second big block, it's natural fibers. So I'll send a handout at the end of the mini series with this chart, for example, and I'll give you also resources where to go and find more information. The second big block is natural fibers, which include plant-based, right? You see cotton, you see linen, you see hemp, and also animal fibers. So it's a good classification. If you're planning to create a brand, for example, this is awesome because you can have this whole chart in front of your eyes, and then you can go, and explore the different materials to decide which one are going to fit best your brand. All these different materials, they don't have the same environmental impact. The goal here is to try to make each of them the best in the category, but some of them will have more of an impact in water, some of them it will be more of a carbon footprint, etc. So we're completely switching gears here, and this is an exercise that could be very interesting for your communication strategy, or just for yourself to identify how best you connect to the issues of sustainability, or rather how best sustainability connects to your own values. So to do this, we are going to write, each of us, a manifesto. We're going to do this together today as a group. So what is a manifesto? A manifesto advocates for a need or a new idea to provoke change. Manifestos are often a response to real-world problems. They can be the work of an individual, or they can be the work of an organization. They often focus on goals that shape and guide a strategy to change. So creating a manifesto will help you examine what you stand for or what you might want to change. By thinking about your core values, it will be easier to build a sustainability mindset. And if you build a sustainability mindset in that way, you are more likely to have a true positive impact on the planet. So here it goes. To build a manifesto, we have to pick a lens. A lens simply means it's a perspective. It's a way to look at things, right? So I'm going to show you examples so that you don't get overwhelmed by the idea. We have 4 lenses: social, economic, ecological, and cultural. This is an exercise, by the way, that I borrowed from the London College of Fashion, which is a very prestigious fashion school in the UK. So to make it easy, I'm going to start with an example with the ecological lens. It means that we're just taking an ecological perspective on sustainability. So the consideration here is that the impact of the fashion industry as it exists today is a danger to preserving life on Earth. The issues, if we take an ecological perspective, the issues are climate change, water stress, pollution, and biodiversity loss. This is what we looked at in our first session. What are we looking for? Well, we're looking to eliminate the negative impact of the fashion industry on the planet. So how do we go about that? We create a manifesto in 4 steps. So the first step is to start from a fact. Of course, it needs to be better if it's a fact that speaks to you. And it's a fact that comes from a credible source. So you do a little research to make sure it's a true fact. Then from this fact, we will make a value statement. So I'm going to show you an example. Value statement could mean that you're stating that something is not sustainable, that something is really harming the planet, something like that. the first step of your manifesto is to create a vision. So your vision for a different reality. And the fourth step is a commitment or commitments that will create this change. So let's look at an example here. So this example is from Vestiaire Collective. So Vestiaire Collective is actually a brand that is reselling, right? They've been on the market for already quite a long time. And if you go to their website, they have a sustainability manifesto. I changed it a little bit to just make it just a little more simpler for the purpose of this exercise, but the content remains true. So we start with a fact. Clothing consumption is rising exponentially. But today we wear our clothing 40% less than we did 10 years ago. So this is a fact that I verified with, or they verified with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I've been quoting this foundation a few times already, and you will find a lot of interesting resources on their website. So what value statement comes from that? Keeping with the present scale of consumption puts excessive pressure on our planet, endangering quality of life for future generations. So based on the fact, I am extrapolating a value, saying that this is not manageable over the long term. It's endangering the planet and life for future generations. What is the vision? We imagine a future when the fashion industry is free of environmental impact. And now we're making some commitments. What are the commitments? We commit to reduce our footprint. Of course, this could require more details. How will you reduce your footprint? We will empower our community, and we will engage with other organizations and with the public. So here is a simple manifesto in 4 steps. And my idea was for you to either select one of these 2 facts here that I picked myself. The first one is, so it would be either one or the other, not both of them. And then build your manifesto from there. So the first fact, it's a fact that comes from the ecological perspective. We're looking at environmental issues. The first fact is 70 million trees are cut each year from endangered forests to make fabrics for the fashion industry. So that's a fact. This is something that I had quoted in the first session and that I had researched. Another fact that you could start with, this comes from a social perspective. Most garment workers don't make a living wage. So either one or the other. And from there, you would have to choose. You would have to make a value statement, lay out your vision for change, for a different reality, and 4, list some commitments that would lead to this change.